What's up, YouTube? I'm here to do my predictions for Fight Night Swanson versus Stevenson. We're going to start the card off with Washlinski versus Anthony Hamilton. Washlinski is the Russian grappler. He's won 10 in a row. His last win was a rear naked choke win over Mirko Krokop. He is a submission wrestler, and Anthony Hamilton is more of like a ground and pound wrestler, so I think Washlinski's going to be the winner. I think he's the better grappler, and I think he's going to win by submission, probably rear naked choke, round 2. Alright, next fight, Ray Borg versus Shane Howell. I think Ray Borg, he looked really good in his last fight against Dustin Ortiz. Dustin Ortiz is one of the top 15 guys at flyweight, and his only problem in that fight was he didn't throw enough strikes, and he didn't control Dustin as well as he could have when he got him in bad positions. But those were minor. I think he can definitely fix the small problems he had. Shane Howell, his record's 13-7. I think they're kind of trying to feed him the Ray Borg. Yeah, I'm gonna pick Ray Borg by rear naked choke. That's what most of his wins are, by rear naked choke. So next fight, we got Marcelo Ramirez versus Andy Enz. Marcelo's from the first season of The Ultimate Fighter Brazil, I think, and he didn't make it into the house, but he still came into the UFC. He's kind of boring. I saw his first fight that he won. He basically laid against the guy against the fence, won a decision, and then in the second fight he got knocked out against Hyun-Gun Lim. And Andy Enz, he was on the Ultimate Fighter 7. He didn't make it into the house either, but he lost to Uriah Hall, and that was a really good fight. He lost his UFC debut to Clint Hester, but he still looked pretty good. I think Marcelo is gonna try to push Andy Enz against the fence like he did against Lim, but he'll get tired, and Andy will eventually knock him out. So I'm gonna pick Andy Enz by KO. Next we got Johnny Bedford versus Cody Gibson. They're both pretty similar. They're both primarily wrestlers, but they both got good striking and good jiu-jitsu. I think the big difference in this fight's going to be that Johnny Bedford's the bigger fighter, and he's fought the bigger fights. He's fought better people. So I think Johnny Bedford's going to win this by decision. Okay, next we got Colton Smith versus Carlos Diego. Carlos Diego's a jiu-jitsu guy from Brazil. He's undefeated. I think all of his wins are by submission. Colton Smith's the guy that won the Ultimate Fighter, and yeah, he's primarily a wrestler, but he's starting to get pretty good at everything. I'm going to pick Colton in this one, just because I think he'll be able to keep the fight standing, and I haven't seen Diego do too much aside from, the jiu-jitsu, and I think Colton could probably get a decision win, or late TKO. Next we got Joe Allenberger versus James Moonstar. I think Joe Allenberger's Jake Allenberger's younger brother, and they fight a lot similar. I think Joe wrestles a little bit more than Jake does. I think that's going to help in this fight, because I think James is mainly a striker, so I think Joe will be able to wrestle him and get a late TKO in the third. Next we got Clint Hester versus Antonio Braga Neto. I think this is basically the striker versus grappler here. Clint Hester's been working a lot on his takedown defense and his overall wrestling game, but he's still kind of a scrub when it gets to the ground. Same thing for Braga Neto. When it's standing, he's not that good, but I think that Braga will definitely get this fight to the ground sooner or later, and when he does, I think he'll win by submission. So I'm going to pick Antonio Braga Neto by rear naked choke in the first round. Next we got Ricardo Lamas versus Hakron Diaz. Hakron Diaz hasn't fought in a long time. I think he might have been injured, and both guys are coming off a loss. Ricardo Lamas lost a decision to Jose Aldo, and Hakron Diaz lost a decision to Nick Lentz, and I think that's going to be a big thing for this fight, because Lamas basically fights exactly like Lentz, but I think he's a little bit better at it. And Hakron Diaz, he hasn't fought in so long. I think he's going to have some ring rust. So like I said, if Nick Lentz could take Hakron Diaz and just beat him up against the fence, then I feel like there's no way Ricardo Lamas can't do that either. So I'm going to pick Ricardo Lamas, decision 30-27. Alright, next we got Cesar Ferreira versus Andrew Craig. I think Cesar Ferreira is the better fighter in this fight. The only problem is that he overextends and he does crazy stuff when he doesn't need to. but I think as long as he can keep it technical, I think he's the more well-rounded, and he's definitely a much bigger fighter. So I'll pick Caesar by decision. Next, co-main event, Kelvin Gastelum versus Nicholas Massouk. I think, both guys, they're undefeated in the UFC. I think Kelvin Gastelum, in his last fight, he beat Rick Story by split decision. He's the Ultimate Fighter winner. And Nicholas Massouk, he trains with Alexander Gustafsson, and he's 2-0 in the UFC. I think the big thing in this fight is, in Nicholas Massouk's 2 wins in the UFC, he got rocked really early, and he kind of just came back because his opponent's gassed. I don't think Kelvin's going to gas. I think he's going to be able to drop him early and then finish him with strikes late in the first, so I'm going to pick Kelvin Gastelum by TKO. Alright, last fight, the main event, Cub Swanson versus Jeremy Stephens. Both guys are on win streaks. Jeremy Stephens won 4 in a row, I think, and Cubs won 5 in a row. I think the big difference in this fight is going to be the grappling. I think Cub is the much better grappler. I think he's better at mixing everything up. I think Jeremy is just a striker, really, as where Cub is a good striker and a good grappler. I also think Cub's a little bit more suited to the weight class. I think Jeremy's a little big. He gets tired as the fight goes on, is what it looks like to me. I think Cub is probably going to get a finish, I'm going to say submission, late in the 4th. I also think this fight could definitely be fight of the year. So, just throwing that out there. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.